Good morning, everybody. Today is the second show of the Triple Crown, which is the Preakness Stakes today. And 2 weeks ago, I made a video about my Kentucky Derby predictions, and I said that I believe, and my selection was Maximum Security. So, as everybody knows, he finished first, but was disqualified by the stewards because of infractions while during the race. And I was at Golden Gate Fields Racetrack at Berkeley, and the emotions when he finished first, I was just elated, and I was high-fiving everybody too who had Maximum Security. However, when there was a delay for like 20 minutes by the stewards, I was thinking, oh, okay, so if he does take down, I bet him across the board win, place, and show. So if he got disqualified, finished second or third, I'd be like, okay, you know what? I got a piece of that prize. Well, it wasn't even that of the case. That wasn't even the case. He didn't even finish in the money officially, and I believe he was placed like second to last. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, I watched the race even when I recorded my DVR, and I could see him being disqualified, but having him taken off the board, I mean, my goodness, dude. I put $5 across the board, so that was $15 total. So if he had finished first, I'm probably assuming that since he was at the time, I believe 4-1 or 9.5-2, I probably could have won maybe between $50 to $60 overall. I could be wrong, but well, yeah, it was just a disappointment. But however, when I handicapped the Kentucky Derby, it gave me sort of a different perspective in terms of handicapping for the Preakness. As with the Kentucky Derby, I used to do just based off pedigree, but now I'm looking at using that sort of a process elimination, and using pedigree as sort of as another source, but more of a process of elimination. And that's what the approach I'm going to do for this Preakness. So one of the process of elimination I plan to use is the horses who ran in the Kentucky Derby. There are 4 horses who ran in the Kentucky Derby who will be running the Preakness. The first of which is War of Will. Just like the Derby, he has the rail, so that's a concern that I have. I don't know how he's going to run his race, but in addition, if you look at the daily racing form, he hasn't won since he left Fairgrounds. So in terms of process elimination, that's one horse I will eliminate in terms of my contention for the Derby. The other horse who also ran in the Derby is Improbable. Over here, he finished actually 4th, even though it says he finished 5th, but because of this disqualification, I believe he finished 4th. And he was one of the 3 horses, strong contingents from Bob Baffert. And just like last year he was undefeated. However, he has 0 wins this year, even though 2 of his races have come second. And he's the only Grade 1 winner in this race. So in terms of the top quality horse, he's probably most likely going to be the favorite. So that's another horse from the Derby who's running the Preakness race. The third horse who ran in the Kentucky Derby was Bodie Express, and he finished way back in the pack, which hence is why he's like his odds is 20-1. He's going to be one of the horses I'm just going to eliminate from my picks for the Preakness. And the last horse who ran in the Derby, who's running the race, is Win Win Win. He was actually one of my exotics for the Kentucky Derby, and I guess based on the pedigree with Sonny Silence as his grandsire and Smarty Jones as broodmare sire, 2 horses who won the 2/3 of the Triple Crown. Yeah, I was probably using him in terms of my exotics. As you notice, I gave up on him. I mean, he's won only one race this year, and it was 7 furlongs. I thought, the farther it would go along, due to the pedigree, that he would run better, and I thought he would run better in the Derby. But as you see right here, I said gave up on him, and he is one of the horses I will give up. Out of the 4 horses who ran the Derby, War Will, Improbable, Bodie Express, and Win Win Win, the horse I probably the best of those 4 is Improbable. So the other group of horses that I characterize in terms of using process eliminations are these really long shots, and usually in this case, for this particular handicapping, I'm using long shots that are like over 10-1 odds. The first one is Bourbon of War. He's won this year. He's actually won on one race this year, and it was actually a just an optional claiming race. It's not surprising he's only 12-1. I think by the time he's in the post, he might be a little higher. I think the reason why he's 12-1 is because of his sire Tapit, who sired 3 Belmont Stakes winners, but has not yet sired a Preakness Stakes winner. Warriors Charge is one of those other really long shots. If you look at the daily race form, he hasn't ran in any stakes races, so that's another horse that I will eliminate from my choices. The other horse who's also a long shot is Market King. He was trained by D. Wayne Lucas, who's trained multiple Preakness Stakes winners. Sometimes it's you have to just look at the form in terms of determining races. You can't look at reputations, and if you notice, I underlined his sire Into Mischief because he's actually one of the top sires in this country, and with a trainer like D. Wayne Lucas, with 31, you might think he's a live long shot, but when you look at his record, it doesn't really give you hope, or in terms of that he might even finish in the money. So, but with no Derby, with the top 3 or 4 finishers in the Derby who are not running in the Preakness along with maximum security, this is a wide open race, and that's why you see Market Field entered in the Preakness. Signalman is also a very a big long shot, and this year he hasn't won any race, so I'm eliminating him from my field. So Laughing Fox is another one. It's a 20-1 odds morning line, and actually he's one of 2 horses in this race who ran a race that had automatic birth to the Preakness. Laughing Fox is one who won the Oak Park Invitation. The other horse is Anothertwistafate, which I will go further into detail about that horse. But with Laughing Fox, he's another one that, sorry, it's kind of windy, apologize. He's another one that sort of is a long shot, and but I plan to eliminate him from my picks. Next, I'll go to what I call actual live long shots. The one I mentioned before were really big long shots. These I consider live long shots. They're like 10-1 or under, who I think have a legitimate shot. So in this race, the first one is Owendale. His last race, he won the Lexington. He has a pretty good speed buyer figures from that race. However, he didn't accumulate enough points to run in the Derby, so he's one of the horses who didn't run in the Derby. At the moment, his odds are 10-1, and I think it's a solid take look into this horse. The other live long shot is Always Mining, and he's a Maryland bred. As you notice here, he's won. He's undefeated this year. In addition, he's also had a pretty good race record last year. If you notice, all his wins have been at Laurel, and the race is going to be at Pimlico. So I don't know how he will handle the racetrack. However, maybe with local connections and the fact he's a Maryland bred is why there's some support for him. So the other live long shot is Anothertwistafate, and his last race he won the Lexington. No, he didn't win. He got second in the Lexington behind Owendale. He won the El Camino Real Derby at Golden Gate Fields, and most of his races has been on synthetic. The last two dirt races, the Sunland Derby and the Lexington Stakes, have been on dirt. And sometimes you see horses who've run well in synthetics don't run well at all on dirt. But this horse, he's run well on dirt. In fact, in the Sunland Derby, I think he was considered the favorite, came in second. And Lexington, he was like about almost 2 lengths behind. Had he won one of those two races, he would have enough points to run in the Derby. So that's another live long shot to consider. So with this process of elimination, I have like my top 3 contenders for this race, and I'm gonna go from third to first in terms of my selection. The first is Owendale in terms of, so he would be my third choice, and he won the Lexington Stakes as I mentioned, but this is where I'm going to use pedigree from a standpoint. So I underline his Broodmare Bernardini, who's known as a racehorse who won the Preakness Stakes in 2006, but also that was the race that was marred because of Barbaro. As a Broodmare sire, he's an upcoming Broodmare sire, and that's the reason why I'm selecting him. I have Owendale as one of my top 3 contenders because I think Bernardini is a young Broodmare sire who I believe is going to really blow up in terms of being a leading Broodmare sire. And some of his horses, his daughters, have produced horses who've won Grade 1 stakes. And I think right now, if you have Bernardini as a Broodmare sire in a grade race stakes, I think you have to take a look at that from a pedigree standpoint. The second horse is Improbable. Of all the horses, he's the only Grade 1 winner, and he's run fairly well this year. Even though he hasn't won. Last year was undefeated. This year he's 0-for-3, but he's had 2 second place races. He'll be the favorite, and I think with trainer Bob Baffert, he'll be a favorite for this race, but he's my second choice. So my choice for the Preakness is Anothertwistafate. Maybe you could call this a local bias, whatever. Because I actually saw him run in the El Camino Real Derby, and I was rooting for him to represent Northern California in racing. The El Camino has a strong history, has a pretty solid history when it comes to the Triple Crown. Lately, it hasn't, but the El Camino has produced 4 Preakness winners. Gate Dancer in 1984, Tanks Prospect in 1985, Tabasco Cat in 94, and Charismatic in 1999. So that's four horses from the El Camino Real Derby who ended up winning the Preakness Stakes. For Kentucky Derby Prep, that's pretty good. And in addition, he's the sire Scat Daddy, who was the sire of Justified, who won the Triple Crown last year. So, and the fact that he ran second in his last 2 races, he didn't win, but he could handle the dirt. The only concern is that he is at the 12th post, but I think with his tactical speed, he could maneuver. I think one thing is there's a jockey change. The last 2 jockeys that he's had, they came in second. and I'm hoping with Ortiz as the new jockey that he will navigate Another Twist of Fate a little bit better than the other two jockeys in the last two races. So he's my top pick to win this race. He's 6-1 right now. I'm hoping this is the horse that represents, Northern California and Bay Area to bring home the Preakness. So that's my selection for this race. In terms of exotics, what I'm going to do is for Another Twist of Fate. Not only will I place him on the win, but I'll place him across the board. I put $5 across the board for maximum security 2 weeks ago to win for the Kentucky Derby. So that was $15. I'm going to go basically more on Another Twist of Fate. Instead of $5 across the board, I'll put $15 across the board. So that's going to be $45 total. So finishes first, second, or third, I get a piece of the prize. So that's how much faith I have on this horse. So he's not going to be my win, but my across the board bet. In addition, in terms of exotics, I think with Another Twist of Fate and Owendale, the two horses that finished the top two in Lexington, I'm going to use them in an exacta box for my exotic, and actually for the trifecta, I probably in order, I'll put Another Twist of Fate on top, Owendale second, and Improbable third, or I might even box that. But in my trifecta, those are the horses I plan to use: Another Twist of Fate, Owendale, and Improbable, and for my exacta, Another Twist of Fate and Owendale. So I'll be actually heading off to San Mateo at the Jockey Club, the place where Bay Meadows used to be. So I hope when it comes to maybe a twist of fate in this would be that if my horse wins, there won't be a Stewart's Inquiry. So that's my race. That's who I plan to bet. And to those who are going to the Preakness or going to bet the race, good luck. Have fun, and may your horse you select win this race.